last night, Elon had Donald Trump on the Spaces live event. It actually, dude, everybody in the world was going nuts. I think they broke the internet because there was a 45. How long, Rob? Was it 40 minutes delayed?
Yeah, they were about 45 minutes delayed, and then he went on for a full 2 hours with Elon.
Unbelievable. And it was called the DDoS attack. And so for some of you guys that don't know, because there's still a lot, my sister was like, what happened? Did somebody hack? And I had to explain to her that it's a cyber crime that involves flooding a server with internet traffic to prevent users from accessing online services and sites. So, Tom, you broke it down a little bit more eloquently.
Yeah, if you've ever gone to ESPN where you're in the middle of the Super Bowl and you're trying to get fantasy football stats and it's really slow to get back to you, that's because so many people are on ESPN at the same time, but they kind of plan for that. In this case, hackers and bad actors use zombie computers, and you hear people saying you need to have antivirus software on your computer, and they point all of those to send messages and requests to a single point at the same time to flood it. So it's a distributed group of computers that causes you and me to be denied service because we're trying to get there and we can't get anything because the server is just getting slammed with traffic. It is like ESPN being slow on the Super Bowl on steroids, but done by bad people.
And the tweet came from Elon 8:18 p.m. because originally it was scheduled to start at 8. 8:18 p.m. Elon tweets, there appears to be a massive DDoS attack on X, working on shutting it down. Worst case scenario, we will proceed with a smaller number of live listeners and post the conversation later. He then replies to that tweet at 8:24 p.m. and says, we tested the system with 8 million concurrent listeners earlier today. So earlier that day, that system worked with 8 million concurrent, but when they only had 150 to 200,000 people waiting live, all of a sudden the stream started shutting down and kicking people out.
And not being that guy, I said this to Rob on Unusuals. I go, yo, once this thing happens, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't let it happen, because the left-wing media was going bananas. They were making comments. Rob, I know you had something where they were like,
they're like laughing, chucking it up. The Elon Musk, X, laid off all those engineers, and now he's got technical problems.
That's every message I got, Adam. The majority from my people in California were like, oh, that's what he gets for firing everybody.
No, I wouldn't even go there with this. I mean, we saw what happened 9 months ago with Ron DeSantis.
Yep.
There's precedent for this. Mm-hmm. This is the challenge that's going to be happening with especially X, and we can get into all who do you think it was? If this were on ABC, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, Fox, there'd be no issues. The good and the bad of what's happening on X is you're democratizing these conversations. Like, it's not being sort of levied by mainstream media. There's no roadblocks, but there's going to be challenges just literally getting to talk. The thing that was DeSantis, it was choppy. You couldn't hear anything. Yeah. And I don't know how much time you guys spent with this. I waited for like 20, 30 minutes, didn't hear anything. And you know what I did? Went and lived my life.
Yeah, of course.
And had dinner and did I didn't just sit around all day.
Yeah.
So I didn't hear anything. Because I waited around for, how long was there silence for?
About 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
They finally went live. I can actually tell you the exact time because I texted everybody in our group chat and said, hey, they are live now. It was scheduled to start at 8 p.m. They're both muted. 8:40 was when they went live. So 40-minute delay. And I'll tell you, Vinny, to your point of why people wouldn't want this conversation to be had or be heard, here might be part of the reason why, and this is according to X. Between 7:47 p.m. and 10:47 p.m. Eastern Time, Donald Trump's space post received 73 million views. During the same period, there were 4 million posts about Elon Musk and President Trump's conversation, generating a total of 998 million views. So a billion people saw the comments or heard the conversation last night.
I might have a totally different opinion of you guys. If you're solving for as many people as possible, wanting to hear what this conversation was, right?
Yes.
Like, that's the goal.
Yes.
Why not set a time, set a date, meet at the same place, video it like a real conversation, and then put out clips? So it's almost like this conversation in many people's minds never even happened. Like, when we do a live podcast, we take the short clips and we put them out. Why? Because some clips are going to pop, some clips are going to have reach. Nobody's going to listen to all 2 hours. In my opinion, this was a failed effort where they should have done it AV, not just audio. Get some clips out of sitting down with Elon and Trump at the same place And now you have this BS Twitter space that nobody's going to listen to these clips. I think it was just it was a horrible, horrible way to do this.
But here's my thing. And Tom,
but it's a conversation that needs to happen.
Yeah,
that's my point.
So think of it from a business standpoint. Okay, Trump posted yesterday for the first time, and it had I think 37 million. It might be way more views.
Sure.
From a business aspect, Trump's back on X. You're having this Twitter thing, but boy, it literally broke the internet, and you had people. Obviously, bad actors. It's a crime what they did. They tried to stop it from happening. I mean, we could kind of allude to who would be paid to do something like this, but it did a hiccup. But I think in the bigger picture, besides the conversation, it's the company. It's X. I mean, look at the two names that are on there, Adam. And it took an illegal hack to stop this from happening. And I'm pretty sure they're going to
stop it. It didn't
almost.
happen.
I know they delayed it. They delayed it from happening. And I get what you're saying in person, but for this platform, for what they're doing for X, that's their spaces, that's their life.
And I disagree that people aren't going to sit and watch, because I listened to the entire thing, the entire 2 hours. And from its peak, it was 1.3 million people watching live. And then the only listening live dropped down to 1.2 million. So there's only 100,000 people that dropped off. You still had 1 million people watching or listening, and a total of 1 billion views. Do you want to play the clip of Elon discussing the DDoS attack?
Please, yeah.
Humberto, if you could pull up clip number 2. This is Elon, as soon as he gets the stream working and people can log back in and listen, this is Elon addressing the DDoS attack. Clip number 2, Humberto.
All right.
Hello, everyone. My apologies for the late start. We unfortunately had a massive distributed denial of service attack against our servers, and saturated all of our data lines. Like basically hundreds of gigabits of data were saturated. We think we've overcome most of that, and so it's now time to proceed. But as this massive attack illustrates, there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say, and but I'm honored to have this conversation. I want to emphasize it's a conversation, and it's really intended to just get a feel for what Donald Trump is just like in a conversation. It's hard to catch a vibe about someone if you just don't hear them talk in a normal way. And when there's an adversarial interview, like no one's themselves in an adversarial interview. And this is really aimed at kind of open-minded, independent voters who just trying to make up their mind. So you can understand like what is what is it just like to have a conversation? So honored to Donald, great to speak.
Today,
we had
Junior.
a great conversation yesterday. As you mentioned yesterday, if we could just record that conversation and post it, it would have been excellent. And I hope we can have something like that today.
And then they went on.
I think we will. I'm pretty
okay.
sure we will.
Well, thank you, Elon. It's great to be here.
I have a perspective here, and Adam, I kind of disagree with you a little bit. First of all, this was live. This was absolutely live, unscripted, spontaneous, and people want to hear because they want something called authenticity and want to hear the position. Kamala Harris is now 22 days, has not sat down and done a live interview with any media. They have all been scripted stand-ups at the rallies. And even the New York Times 2 days ago wrote a very harsh article that said, hey, we want to sit down. We want unscripted. We want, and by the way, their job is to help get her elected. That's their job. Obviously. They're trying to do their job. And they're pointing out that what she's doing and dodging it is not helping. You had a total of 1 billion people that saw some part of it or a share or something. 1 billion people? There's only 350 million people in the United States, give or take, waiting for the census and all of the migrants that have come across the borders. And so you look at it, and I think it was brilliant. I thought it was well played. And also, it was also a message the other way. It got fixed in 40 minutes, which means that X has got the technical talent to even take a massive DDoS attack and to thwart it so that the show must go on so that people can hear it. And as Elon said, we want the independent-minded voters to be able to see something and make up their mind.
And what does DDoS stand for? The Democrat denial of service?
That's what he's talking about.
I mean, you could easily replace the D
Don't get
for-
it confused with DDoF, which is distributed denial of freedom. That's the Biden administration.
Yeah.
The Democrats
Very different.
defense
Democrat
of
denial of
secrecy.
service.
They don't want this conversation happening.
Yeah.
What's interesting,
I get
Tom,
it.
is that Kamala has not, it's been 21 days, the vice president. 22 days. Vice President Harris has not done a sit-down interview. It's very odd that in this election cycle, for some reason, the Democratic candidate for the United States for the presidency cannot sit down for an interview. When Joe Biden was the candidate, all of our complaints were, why isn't Joe Biden doing a sit-down long-term interview?
And that's what they're trying to do with her.
And so then, Joe Biden does not speak to anybody. The only interview
Because he's in the basement because of COVID. He's in the basement because of COVID. Remember all that?
But then even during this campaign, during this election cycle, going into 2024, the only interview, long-form interview that Joe Biden did was with Howard Stern, right? So he's the leading candidate for the Democrats. He only speaks to Howard Stern, doesn't do another interview until after he decides to step down. And since he decides to step down, now Joe Biden has done more interviews than Kamala Harris has. Kamala Harris has been absent for 22 days. So why can't the Democratic nominee that is running for president sit down and answer questions in an interview?
They can't.
Thank you.
She has because Rob, they know she has absolutely nothing to say, and all the arguments that I'm getting back home at them is like from all the Californians that I know is name me one thing that she has done. Like I'm being genuine. Name one thing that she could stand on and say, at least I did this. If you're the border czar, which means emperor, king, you failed completely. Besides her record when she was in San Francisco and in California, but it's like and by the way, they're doing a great job. MSNBC, the mainstream media, besides Fox, it's all left. Correct? Dude, they're going to just say, yeah, you guys, by the way, she's going on the whole, listen, I'm a woman of color. By the way, she's on Time Magazine. Did you see the difference from Trump to her? It's like her moment. And it's like Kamala, you're not going to hear from her for a while. And you're not going to hear from her.
And by the way,
debates.
Time Magazine did that article, and I saw the write-up on it, and there was a leak from a reporter inside Time Magazine that said, we did this article without the benefit of being able to sit down with the candidate. We had to collect everything, which basically they collected talking points from the campaign flags.
Yeah.
That's how they did it to build this. So they are there. Look, the media, and what was amazing, David Sachs said it best. Do you have the quote from David Sachs? I think I sent it to you last night. Let's read that.
Yes. Humberto, could you pull it up? I sent it to you in Slack.
Yep. And it's very interesting. And this is what a lot of people are thinking, and this is what we are thinking.
Yeah.
What's this? Is this the tweet?
Yeah. By my count, J.D. Vance submitted to 3 adversarial press interviews today, which is 3 more than Harris and Waltz have done together, both of them, by the way, during the entire campaign. 22 days for Harris.
Yeah.
The mainstream media cooperates with this strategy. They see their job as electing Harris, not educating voters about what she would do as president.
Yeah.
I have a.
Well, go.
There's one word. If you can pull that up 1 second.
Umberto, can you put it
There's
back?
one word that stands out to me. There's one word.
Wait.
What's the one word that stands out?
Cooperates.
Keep going.
Strategy.
Strategy.
Yeah.
Thank you. PBD just wrote a book, multiple books, Wall Street Best Journal. Your next 5 moves, is it business strategy? What is it called?
Yeah, I think so.
Your choose your enemies wisely, business strategy. That's the concept of this. So if I'm the Democrats, there's like, just let's back up a second. The Twitter spaces, I get it. Like I said, it's a conversation that needs to happen. I wish it was audio and visual. I want to see it.
What if one of them is in Australia? Who cares?
Then you get together and do an interview like we do right now.
Okay.
The strategy with Kamala is pretty simple. Don't talk.
Yeah, but that's
Don't
ridiculous.
like. I know that you wanted to talk.
Yeah.
The reason that you wanted to talk because she's got some explaining to do.
Of course.
The less she talks, because you know what's better than Kamala Harris? The idea of Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Correct.
You know what's worse than Donald Trump? The
reality.
idea of Donald Trump. Threat to democracy. No, he's not. Yeah. The reality is they're doing a campaign strategy. And in my opinion, the strategy is the more she talks, less people like her.
Yeah.
She's very unlikable.
Of course, she's
like
horrible.
the number one clip I have imprinted in my mind is the debate with Mike Pence.
Yeah.
I'm speaking.
Yeah.
I'm speaking.
Yeah, she's
like
a chameleon.
I hear that. I'm like, I'll get out of here.
Yeah.
So Barack Obama knows this. Joe Biden knows it, that she's unlikable. So they're like, what can we do to get her like? By the way, you can pull up poll numbers. They are skyrocketing for this lady.
Yeah.
Even though her vice presidential numbers were horrible.
Yeah.
So their strategy is quite simple. Don't talk, Kamala.
Yeah.
And let Donald Trump just say wild ass shit.
Yeah, but on the same token, for a party not to let their leading candidate speak, to let the people see and feel who she is, to me, it seems like they already know that their other strategy is a lock. All the illegals, everybody coming in. We talked about, bro, that the DMV in Florida, there was a line of 200 people showing up that aren't citizens that were getting registered to vote. So it's the same thing as COVID. Keep them in the basement. Because guess what? Everybody's going to mail in their votes, and we're going to be Gucci. It's almost as if they already have an insurance. Keep her quiet.
Well, let's stay on the campaign for a second.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Stay on the campaign for a second, and then we can go to voters in a little bit, because you're right on both things.
Yes.
But let's stay on campaign. She's running against her own record, and the media is absolutely complicit. Do we have the CBS tweets? Right?
Yes.
What did she come out? Watch this. America, watch. You want to know what's on the ballot? This is not four angry men here. This is not four angry patriots, although I think there's
One of
four
them, and
angry
Rob's wearing the
patriots
shirt.
here. And Rob's wearing the shirt. You
Yeah.
get that at VT.com.
Which tweet do you want, Tommy? Which one do you want?
There's two tweets, Humberto. It's the CBS tweets that are...
This
Here
one?
we go. CBS News, unredacted, untouched tweet from... A couple months ago, former President Donald Trump vowed to stop taxing tips would cost the federal government up to $250 billion over 10 years, according to a nonpartisan watchdog group. So they find the negative in it because CBS is a biased shill for the Democratic Party. Then Kamala Harris comes out running against her own record of taxation, running against the Biden administration's counter that said Donald Trump was crazy. You can't do that. People need to pay their fair share of taxes. Vice President Kamala Harris is rolling out a new policy position. That's true. This is new for her, saying she'll fight to the end taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. Look at this. They find it. They make her the champion of the people. She's running against her own record, and she is only able to do that with the complicity of the mainstream media that is not saying, wait a damn minute. This isn't what you said 2 weeks ago. This isn't what you did when you were in California. This isn't what the Biden administration did. There is no questioning this. They're doing it on border policy, and they're doing it on tax. They are attempting to appear equal to Donald Trump on key policies while they promote the idea of Kamala Harris being president. And Lord God, don't let her end up in a debate.
Forget and Rob, I'll go to you. And that's why, Adam, I think besides who cares that they weren't in front of each other. That's why the Twitter space is so important, because you got to hear this guy speak for what, Rob, 2.5 hours? Bro,
2
at
hours.
his age, and it was what time was it here?
It didn't end until I logged off at 11:45.
And he was, dog, he was there the entire time, meaning like in the moment, not sounding old, not sounding tired. Rob, what were you going to say?
10:45. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
There is a clip of Kamala Harris, the tax on tips. This came up during the spaces yesterday between Elon and Trump, where Trump brings it up. Humberto, it's clip number 5, Kamala tax on tips, where Trump addresses this. And by the way, that tweet that you showed, Tom, the dates were cut off, but they are on the actual tweets themselves. The one from Trump announcing the no tax on tips was from June 17th of this year, and Kamala's was from August 12th. 2 months later.
So 60 days ago and 5 days ago.
Yes, exactly.
And it's just wild because like the campaign right now, it's the Democrats. By the way, you want to talk about democracy? None of them want her. They don't want to vote for Kamala. They have to. So it makes me laugh. All these Democrats that keep preaching and screaming that word democracy. There's zero democracy in what's happening with them and what's happening with Kamala's campaign.
And we have a clip